Welcome back to Grounded Spirits Podcast, a place where we're learning how to stay rooted while flying high. I'm your host, Laura Lynn, and we are working on the Emerald Tablets. Today we're looking at the 5th tablet, the Dweller of Unal, and we're just going to jump right in. It starts off with, "Oft I dream of buried Atlantis, lost in the ages that have passed into night. Eon on eon thou existed in beauty, a light shining through the darkness of night. Mighty in power, ruling the earth born, Lord of the earth in Atlantis' day. King of the nations, master of wisdom, light through Suntal, keeper of the way. Dweller in his temple, the master of Unal, light of the earth in Atlantis' day." So he's talking about how Atlantis was this amazing place. And I find it interesting that he says ruling the earth born, because he was an earthborn, but what he's talking about here is that now he has ascended. He is now a master, and the masters were the ones that were in the temple that ruled Atlantis, a city that was full of earthborns. So I think he's just kind of like reflecting back on his past, of his journey. King of nations, master of wisdom. I think he's talking about himself there, that the light through Suntal. I don't know what Suntal is. I guess we're going to find out. But light and Suntal are both capitalized, like fully, and not just the first letter. Keeper of the way, dwelt in his temple. Okay, so yeah, this is what he's talking about, the masters that ruled Atlantis when he was a kid. Master of Unal, so temple is fully capitalized, master is, Unal is, light is, light of the earth in Atlantis' day. Master he, which is capitalized, the he. Master he from a cycle beyond us, living in bodies as one among men. So that's weird, interesting, because we often refer to God, the Lord and Savior, Master. And the fact that he is capitalized makes it sound like it's godlike, that it's the caps, From a cycle beyond us. I think this is what it also means, that God is ununderstandable to us, because he doesn't exist in the same space or the same plane, the same dimension as we do. So I think that this is very accurate, the way that he's saying it, from a cycle beyond us, because life is just cycles upon cycles upon cycles. Our lives are just cycles too. And so for God to be in a cycle beyond us would make sense. And then this line reminds me of Jesus, living in bodies as one among men. I just wanted to note, because we didn't do like a full proper intro, but this is the first time, like, this is me being raw reading this for the first time. So anything that comes to mind, this is why I want to share it with you. I have not looked at this before. I just wanted to make that clear, because I think that I wanted my excitement to be genuine, whereas if I already knew that like there was going to be a line about Jesus, it would sound forced. So that's why I do it that way. But yeah, living in bodies as one among men, like that's just wild to me, that it's in here, because it could be like Jesus-like, but it's also, I think this film came out like in the 50s. But it's like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where like these aliens come down and you can't even trust your neighbor, because you don't know if they're actually your neighbor anymore, or if they're being controlled by these aliens. So it also kind of sounds like that, living in bodies as one among men, where that you don't know who is an actual human and who isn't. And now that's reminding me of, in Carlos Castañeda's books, Don Juan talks about this too, that there are spirits, or diableros, is what he called them, or allies, he also calls them, but like things not of this earth. So again, from a cycle beyond us that dwell here on earth, living in bodies as one among men. So it's interesting to like think about it in these different ways. Moving on. Not as the earthborn, he from beyond us, son, which is also capitalized, he is capitalized as well in this part, son of a cycle, advanced beyond men. So again, just saying that whoever he's talking about, so if it is God, if it is Jesus, that they're not earthborn, they're from the son of a cycle. But son is S-U-N, so it's not like, but I have seen that that it's supposed to mean like one and the same thing. Know ye, O man, that Horlet the master was never one with the children of men. Horlet is also fully caps. Master's only the M is. I don't know what a Horlet is, so I'm gonna go look it up. One sec. So good thing I went to go look it up, because it turns out Horlet the Master is an interdimensional being who guides the enlightenment of men, but that he also, he's kind of like the arranger. It's like, that's more of like a Hinduism belief, with the arranger. But in the Christian ideology, it's that he is, Archangel Gabriel. So that's interesting. But yeah, he is in charge of earth and the enlightenment of men. So yeah, that's what I found about that. Okay, moving right along. But first of all, I wanted to say that he's kind of throwing shade, Thoth is, to Horlet the Master or Archangel Gabriel. Because he says that he was never one with the children of men. So it kind of sounds like shade, like, oh, like he didn't belong. But also, if he's in charge of men, he can't belong, because he's at a different level. So that's interesting. And I think that maybe Horlet is the he that that Thoth has been referring to this whole time here in the 5th tablet. So if we look at it in that way, master he, yeah. So it's Horlet the Master, that's the he who is beyond us. He's living in a body among us, but he's not earthborn. He's from a sun cycle, and he was never one with the children of men. Far in the past time, when Atlantis first grew as a power, appeared there one with the key of wisdom, showing the way of the light to all. So I think what he's talking about here is that the reason why Atlantis was so advanced was because people learned how to channel their inner power and focus on their inner knowledge, and that's how they were able to first grow as a power, while being one with wisdom. So you need both. You need power and wisdom in order to enact change. But today, people just care about power and forget about wisdom. But what's interesting here is that key, wisdom, and light are all fully capitalized. And any time that they are fully capitalized, there's something tied to the divine. So maybe the key would be like the inner world. Wisdom is what is achieved with that key. And then the light is what allows others to then follow the same process. So I'm going to reread this verse. Far in the past time, when Atlantis first grew as a power, appeared there one with the key of wisdom, showing the way of light to all. So it's interesting that one isn't capitalized or anything, like not even just the O. Because he's saying that when Atlantis first started growing, or maybe it's because of this one person that came with the key of wisdom that showed the light to everybody else, the way of the light to everybody else. Showed he to all men the path of attainment, way of the light that flows among men, mastering darkness, leading the man soul upwards to heights that were one with the light. See here, one does have the capital O, and then light has a capital L, but man soul is fully caps. So let's look into what this means a little bit more. Okay, I got it. So I think that he's saying that in the past, Atlantis was only caring about the power, and then now, once this one person, Horlet the Master, showed up with the key of wisdom, he was able to show men the path of attainment. So the same thing as showing the way of light to all. So light in this way is just like good. It just means God, like divinity, ultimate fulfillment, we might say today, or happiness, things along those lines. The way of the light that I messed up. Okay. Showed he to all men the path of attainment, way of the light that flows among men, mastering darkness, leading the man's soul. So, mastering darkness. So at the very beginning, he says that Atlantis, eon on eon, thou existed in beauty, a light shining through the darkness of the night. And now he's talking about Atlantis mastering the darkness, leading the man's soul. So by showing people the way to the light, it's like the light at the end of the tunnel. But in order to see the light, you have to be in darkness. And you have to be in darkness in order to master your own light. Because else you won't know if your light is on or not. You have to be in darkness for it to happen. And so by leading the man's soul upwards to heights that were one with the light, that's how they were able to master darkness. Divided the kingdoms he into sections. Ten there were, ruled by children of men. Upon another built he a temple, built but not by the children of men. Out of the ether called he its substance, molded and formed by the power of Yoltolan. Into the forms he built with his mind. So this is wild. So he's saying that this Horlet the Master, he divided the kingdoms, and kingdoms is capitalized, into sections. 10 there were, ruled by the children of men. And then that he built a temple, but it was from the ether, and then he built it with his mind. He didn't need children of men, it says. Built not by the children of men. And just for reference, he is fully capitalized. Temple is ether, he, Yolton, I said it right the first time. Now I'm overthinking it. That Y word, but then his is only with the H capitalized, not the full his. So that's weird. I'm very intrigued by why these are capitals or not. Because when we're talking about God, we usually just capitalize the first, you know? And why his and not mine? Interesting. Okay, moving on. Mile upon mile it covered the island. Space upon space it grew in its might. So we're talking about the temple that Horlet the Master is building with his mind. Black, yet not black, but dark like the space-time, deep in its heart, the essence of light. Essence and light are both fully capitalized. And I think that what it's saying is that, I guess it's kind of like skyscrapers where they block out the sun, so then you get like the shadow. But then that's how they were able to master the darkness. Like I was saying, you have to be able to be in darkness to see that you can actually glow. Swiftly the temple grew into being, molded and shaped by the word of the dweller, called from the formless into a form. Temple, word, and dweller are all fully capitalized. Builded he, then, within it great chambers, filled them with forms he called forth from the ether, filled them with wisdom called forth by his mind. Again, his is the only, just the H is capitalized, but he and ether are both fully caps. Formless was he within his temple, yet he formed in the image of men. So I think it's really interesting that they're talking about like form and formless, because that is how I view God. And that's why divinity is divinity, because it comes from divide. God divided himself from Mother Nature. So from the Holy Spirit and Mother Nature are the same thing. And it is female. She is a girl. And God separated from her. And it's interesting because that's how babies separate from moms too. Like the cells, they say, okay, this is me, this is her. And then you form your own like little being, and then it comes out of the female. So the same thing goes. God divided himself and said, no, this part isn't me, this part isn't me, and created himself from nothing. And so from the formless, he made form. So I feel like that's really interesting, the way that it's being described here. That's the same way that I was already kind of thinking in a different way. But I think it also goes to show like how our imagination works. Because our imagination, it's formless in there. It's not until we verbalize it or write it down or draw it out or whatever, we have to give it form for it to mean anything. Dwelling among them, yet not of them, strange and far different was he from the children of men. Chose he then from among the people 3 who became his gateway. So he has been capitalized throughout the whole thing. Here, 3 is also fully capitalized. And in the next verse, 3 is still capitalized fully, but highest is only with the H. Choose he the 3 from the highest to become his links with Atlantis. Messengers they who carried his counsel to the kings of the children of men. Brought he forth others and taught them wisdom. Teachers they to the children of men. Placed he them on the island of Unal to stand as teachers of light to men. So 3 has always been a special number. You think about like the Trinity, so it's no surprise that 3 is coming up here, and that it's the 3 that are coming up with the links. So the way that I think about it in my research is the individual, the community, and the society or the country or the world, like the larger bit. And so these are our 3 links to the world, to each other, to everything. It all stems from the individual, the community, and the greater civilization. So it's interesting that it's coming up here as well. But then he goes on to say, each of those who were thus chosen taught must he be for years 5 and 10. It's a really weird wording, but that these 3 people that were chosen, they became light leaders or light teachers on the island of Unal, and they had to be there for 5 to 10 years. Only thus could he have understanding to bring light to the children of men. Thus there came into being the temple, a dwelling place from the Master of men. I, Thoth, have ever sought wisdom, searching in darkness and searching in light, capital L. Long in my youth I traveled the pathway, seeking ever new knowledge to gain, until after much striving, one of the 3 to me brought the light. That is so cool. So he's basically saying that he was just always learning, always wanting more knowledge, until eventually a master found him and was able to teach him the ways of the light. So again, this is very reminiscent of Carlos Castañeda with Don Juan. Don Juan was a sorcerer. Carlos Castañeda became the apprentice, and he was able to completely change his whole worldview from being a PhD student to becoming a sorcerer. And then George Lucas actually modeled Yoda and Luke Skywalker after Carlos Castañeda and Don Juan. So that's a fun fact. But the whole point is that, like, this apprenticeship of having this one-on-one training where you're trying to find a mentor that is going to bring you the light. Moving on. Brought he to me the commands of the dweller, called me from the darkness into the light. Brought he me before the dweller, deep in the temple before the great fire. Oh my gosh. So in past tablets, so there's past episodes, so go listen if you haven't. He talks a lot about fire and like the fire within, but then also this fire that is source where all of the different souls come together. So it's so cool that now he's talking about it, that he had to go before this dweller to be able to come into the light. And the fact that there is a great fire, like, is just so symbolic of like a great change, transformation, to like burn up anything that no longer suits you, so that you can become, so that you can go into the light, so that you can become pure. And when I say pure, I don't mean like in an innocence kind of pure. I mean more in a purification of the soul, to be able to be your most authentic self. And your most authentic self may have some society saying dirty tendencies, but if they're true to you, then they're true to you. And they wouldn't be there if it was just like, it's just a part of you, is what I'm trying to say. Get a little mixed up with my words there. All right, we're going to keep reading. There on the great throne beheld I, the dweller, clothed with the light and flashing with fire. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Clothed with the light. And dweller and light are both fully caps. Down I knelt before that great wisdom, feeling the light flowing through me in waves. Oh my gosh, that's so incredible. So what I have been doing lately is focusing on energy and like of people's spirits, like interacting with, like, exactly what they're saying, like feeling them through waves. This sounds a little weird, but trust me, if you do it, and I'm not saying do it with like strangers, but like I do it with my husband. So I can feel his light flowing to me through waves when I pay attention. And I think that it always happens. It's his energy is always flowing to me. I am just not aware of it until I'm aware of it. it's that whole thing of if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, it doesn't make a sound. I would say yes. And the same thing goes like with energy traveling. And I haven't tried it with strangers, but I think that it would be the same thing. I think that we're just not tuned into it. And I don't think that I would be able to pick up on those frequencies at this time, which is why I've only been focusing on my husband, because it's the frequencies that I can pick up on. So the fact that here, like, they're so great that you don't even need to try to have awareness. It just is automatically thrusted upon you. Heard I then the voice of the dweller. Sheesh. O darkness, come into the light. Long have ye sought the pathway to light. Each soul on earth that loosens its fetters shall soon be made free from the bondage of night. Forth from the darkness have ye arisen, closer approached the light of your goal. Here ye shall dwell as one of my children, keeper of records gathered by wisdom, instrument thou of the light from beyond, ready by thou, made to do what is needed, preserver of wisdom through the ages of darkness, that shall come fast on the children of men. Live thee here and drink all wisdom, secrets and mysteries unto thee shall unveil. So basically what he's saying, who is he? The dweller. So basically what the dweller is saying is that he knows that Thoth has been on this journey for a while, and that any soul that dares loosen its fetters shall soon be made free from the bondage of night. So basically, if you just keep going towards knowledge, you're going to be free. And the thing is that if you don't, then there's no chance for you. But even before that, even in the journey of finding knowledge and getting closer to knowledge, you're still going to feel trapped. You're still going to feel caged. And I think this is very evident with Taylor Swift. I'm going to do a bonus episode I'm going to do the same thing that I do here, going over her lyrics. But when I watched her Eras tour on Disney Plus, I was like, wow, like, this is what freedom is. This is what happiness is. Like how she says it in her songs, she was hitting her marks. Like, how the song begins with, I can read your mind. She's having the time of her life. And then to find out that she's miserable and she's depressed and she acts like it's her birthday and like it's a horrible experience. And then she has a song that I Hate It Here, or the song Fresh Out the Slammer, where her soul is still not free because she still needs to go under this purification of being who she truly is, even if it doesn't agree with her persona. Like, Taylor Swift is meant to be like the sexiest woman alive. Like, she's supposed to be up there with like Selma Hayek. And that's wild to say right now. You're probably thinking like, absolutely not. She could never get there. But the thing is that she's inching there because I think she knows that that's her, but she doesn't know how to express it. And that's like what she's working on, like on her own journey. But what's so genius, and that's why this album has broken so many records, is because this is the first album that we are getting somebody raw. That this is her true light. This is her true experience. This is her not caring what anybody else thinks. This is unapologetically her at this moment in time. And just by being her, just listening to it, he has healed millions across the world. And it's wild because I've seen so many things like on Threads or on Instagram or whatever saying this album is so healing. And it's because it has that extra, talking about spirit earlier, it has that extra pizzazz that only the spirit can put onto it. I was talking earlier that God is a he because he divided himself, which is why he's the divine. He divided himself from the Holy Spirit, which is female. The Holy Spirit is also part of us. So our soul is masculine, it's from God, but our spirit is feminine. And it's just like that extra pizzazz. Even if you're a man, you still have that extra pizzazz, that extra like it factor that you're able to sprinkle on top of everything. Think about that meme where he's the Salt Bay or something. But yeah, it's just like a little extra pizzazz. I think I got a little off track. So back to the to the text here. Yeah, so here's where he's actually undergoing this purification to be able to be truly free of his soul. And then, so the dweller tells him that closer approach the light of your goal. So you're getting closer. You're going to be a keeper of records. And then that's how Thoth refers to him at the very beginning in Tablet 1. He says, I Thoth, keeper of records. But here we get like the backstory. So he became the keeper of records, gathered by wisdom, instrument thou of the light from beyond. So this is what the dweller is still telling him. And then we go on to the next part. Ready by thou made to do what is needed, preserver of wisdom through the ages of darkness. That shall come fast on the children of men. So basically he's saying like, you are going to be the person to leave this kind of ancient knowledge to the children of men, because it's about to get real dark real fast. And anytime that there's darkness, I think that it's like a necessary evil in a way, so that we can get even better. Like we have to go through this lull as a civilization, but like throughout time. So you have like light days, quote unquote, for 4,000 years, and then you have your dark days. And I think that we are on the cusp of going from dark to light. Like our 4,000 years are up of being in darkness. And that's why, like, here we are reading the Emerald Tablets. I know these have been around forever, and like saying soon could still mean like 500 years or something. So it's still soon that this is coming up now. Then answered I, the master of cycles, saying, O light that descended to men, give thou to me of thy wisdom, that I might be a teacher of men. Give thou of thy light, that I may be free. So it's cool here how master of cycles is fully capitalized. And so is the last light. But the first light, only the first L is capitalized. But basically he's saying like, yeah, I'm down. Like, I'll be their teacher, but just give me the wisdom, give me the light. I just want to know. Spoke then to me again the master. Age after age shall ye live through your wisdom. I, when o'er Atlantis the ocean's waves roll, holding the light, though hidden in darkness, ready to come wherever thou shalt call, go thee now and learn greater wisdom. Grow thou through light to infinity's all. So just to make sure, the dweller is Horlith the master. And so this is like back before he went to the Hall of Amenti, before any of that. This is like when he's telling the story of when he was in Atlantis. Like, I think it's like how his journey first started. And so what he's saying is like back when he was in Atlantis and he was just trying to just learn like the quote unquote normal way. And then it just kind of snowballed. And before he knew it, he had a master. And then once he had his master, or like a teacher, one of the three that Horlith the master appointed, then he was able to get, like, be able to talk to him, like, get a viewing. Is that what it's called? I don't know. But yeah, so then what he's saying here, the master is saying that, like, you're going to hold on to this knowledge. I'm going to give you this knowledge so that once Atlantis sinks, like, you'll come up and then you'll be able to grow through light to infinity's all. So you'll be able to, like, get to source through the light. Long then dwelt I in the temple of the dweller, until at last I was one with the light. Followed I then the path to the star plains. Followed I then to the pathway to the light. Deep into earth's heart I followed the pathway, learning the secrets below as above. Learning the hallway, learning the pathway to the halls of Amenti, learning the law that balances the world. To earth's hidden chambers pierced I by my wisdom, deep through the earth's crust into the pathway, hidden for ages from the children of men, unveiled before me ever more wisdom, until I reached a new knowledge, found that all is part of an all, great and yet greater than all that we know. Searched I in infinity's heart through all the ages, deep and yet deeper, more mysteries I found. Okay, so we covered a lot there, so I wanted to briefly go over it and also tell you about the capitalization. So I'm just going to say for all of them. So light, all, dweller, light, halls, Amenti, law, all, Atlantis, all of these are fully capitalized. Now looking at the ones that are just normal capitalized, just the first letter, temple, one, followed, earth, couple more earths. That's it. Okay, so now with the meanings. So he's saying that, so first of all, I don't know, he didn't freak out because I don't think that he knew that Atlantis was going to go under at this time. So basically, the dweller told him something that hadn't happened yet, but he was like, this is what I wanted to know, so I'm going to keep going. And so he says that long then I dwelt in the temple of the dweller until at last he became one with the light. So then he went off into space, like into the star planes, but then also into the earth. And so he was able to go to the halls of Amenti. He learned about the law that balances the world. He went to the hidden chambers of the earth, into the earth's crust, into the pathway that was hidden for ages from the children of men. But now here he is, a child of men who is now entering this new life. So then it says, unveil before me ever more wisdom until I reach new knowledge. And then I found that all is part of an all. So what that means is exactly what I said last week, that the whole point of life is separating, like blowing yourself up so that yourselves can go find friends and then come back together. That's the whole point of life. And it gets done at every level. And so, like, think about a huge, like, let's go small, a tiny little thing that blows up. And all the little particles are all in the air, and they all find things to connect with. And then there's like this gravity that gets pulled together. And how we feel with that is that sensation of good feeling inside. Whether we do a bad thing to get that good feeling or a good thing to get that good feeling, all we want is to feel that good feeling. And what is that good feeling that we feel? That's God. And that is what connects us. If we were part of a different God, then we wouldn't feel this feeling. But the fact that we all feel the same feeling shows that we all are part of the same God. But that God is one little particle of a bigger God. And that God is one tiny particle of an even bigger God. And it goes on forever and ever. And that is what Thoth is talking about here. That once this was unveiled to him, this wisdom, he reached new knowledge and found that all is just a part of an all. And we, like, one little hair is a part of an all. That is us as a human being. And us as a human being, we are a part of an all, whether that's a community, a country, a world, an earth, a God. We are all part of something bigger than ourselves. And there's things that are bigger than God even. Isn't that wild to think about? Great and yet greater than all that we know. I searched, infinity is capitalized. Searched I infinity's heart through all the ages. So this kind of sounds like he's going to the Akashic Records. Because I would say that the heart, so according to the Unalian inner map, the heart is the body of the soul. And the Akashic Records would be like the mind of the soul. And I wonder if that's like how he's accessing them. Maybe that's how everyone accesses them. Maybe it's through the heart. That's interesting. Deeper and yet deeper, more mysteries I found. So once again, this comes back to Don Juan, who said that anybody who doesn't think that there's mysteries in the world is a fool. Now, as I look back through the ages, know I that wisdom is boundless, ever grown greater throughout the ages, one with infinities greater than all. I think it's just talking about like the importance of knowledge and that there's an abundance of knowledge. I might have said this in my other podcast, so if you haven't listened to it, you should check it out. It's called Ela Radio, and I talk about being a polymath and learning, and just like learning, like being a student. Not like being a student like that, but like how do you learn new things without trying is basically what it's about. But anyway, what was the point of that? I'm not sure. So I guess just a nice little plug, and then I'll talk about it later. Okay. Light there was in ancient Atlantis, yet darkness too was hidden in all. Fell from the light into the darkness, some who had risen to heights among men. Half of me is still trying to figure out what I was going to say before with the whole Ela radio thing. And the other half of me is trying to figure out what he's saying, because there's a lot of like light and darkness, but I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about here. So I'm going to read it one more time. Fell from the light into the darkness, some who had risen. Oh, okay. Okay, here we go. Proud they became because of their knowledge. Proud were they of their place among men. Deep delved in they into the forbidden, opened the gateway that led to below. Oof. So he's saying that ego took over. So on the Ornellian inner map, love is right next to ego. So where the heart is the body of the soul, the ego is the body of the mind. And we get confused because they are both innards. And we don't know the difference a lot of the time between the soul and the mind. Descartes would just put them in one clump. But what he's saying here is that because of pride, people fell. They were in the light, but then they fell into the darkness, and that's how bad things started happening. Like Pandora's box, for instance. That they deep delved they into the forbidden, opened the gateway that led to below. So to all the bad and scary stuff. Sought they to gain ever more knowledge, but seeking to bring it up from below. He who descends below must have balance, else he is bound by lack of our light. Open they then by their knowledge pathways forbidden to man. So once again, talking about boundaries. I say once again, but I just realized that was on ELA Radio, so good thing I hadn't mentioned it before. But we talk about like boundaries at every level, at the individual, at the societal or community, and then of the greater universal kind of thing. So yeah. It's interesting how here, because of the lack of boundaries, we end up in the world that we're in. So that's interesting. So that means that there's a world out there where this didn't happen, and men didn't become proud, and they did stay in the light, and people are out there chilling, But my soul chose to be in this dark world. Because I think that I do have what it takes to help. And this is, the podcast is just one small bit of it. But yeah, interesting. But in his temple, all-seeing the dweller lay in his Agwanti, while through Atlantis his roamed free. His soul roamed free. Saw he the Atlanteans by their magic, opening the gateway that would bring to earth a great woe. So this is why they got axed. Why they sunk, because they were getting too greedy. You have to have your balances. So this is why he never fit in with the children of men. The Horlet the master, because his body lay in Agwanti while his soul roamed free. Saw he the Atlanteans. Oh, okay. Fast fled his soul then back to his body. Up he arose from his Agwanti. He called he the three mighty messengers. That's interesting. 3 is not capitalized fully anymore. Now it's just the first letter. Gave the commands that shattered the world. Deep neath earth's crust, to the halls of Amenti, swiftly descended the dweller. Called he then on the powers of the 7 lords wielded, changed the earth's balance. Down sank Atlantis beneath the dark waters, shattered the gateway that had been opened, shattered the doorway that led down below. All of the islands were shattered except Unal, and part of the island of the sons of the dweller. Preserved he them to be the teachers, lights on the path for those to come after, lights for the lesser children of men. That is crazy. So I was right. That's why Atlantis sank, because people got too prideful. Wild. And then, so that's interesting too, because I think it's tablet 2, when we go into the halls of Amenti, he talks to the dweller, but we didn't know that the dweller was Horlit the Master, or also known as Archangel Gabriel. And so then Unal, so here we're talking about the dweller of Unal, so that means that Unal was an island of Atlantis, because it says that all the islands were shattered except for Unal. So does that mean that Aguanti is also an island? Yeah, interesting. And it's cool how here we see the distinction between Horlit the Master's soul, body, and mind. We see the differences between them. Okay. Called he then, I Thoth, before him, gave me commands for all I should do, saying, Take thou, O Thoth, all of your wisdom, take all your records, take all your magic. Go thou forth as a teacher of men, go thou forth, reserving the records, until in time light grows among men. Light shall thou be all through the ages, hidden yet found by enlightened men. Over all earth give we ye power, free thou to give or take it away. Gather thou now the sons of Atlantis, take them and flee to the people of the rock caves. Fly to the land of the children of Chem. So this is how we see what he does at the very beginning. He goes to the children of Chem. Those are the people that he gives these tablets to before he decides to go back to the halls of Amenti. Then gathered I the sons of Atlantis into the spaceship. I brought all my records, brought the records of sunken Atlantis, gathered I all of my powers, instruments many of mighty magic. Up then we rose on wings of the morning. High we arose above the temple, leaving behind the three and the dweller. Deep in the halls neath the temple, closing the pathways to the lords of the cycles. Yet ever to him who has knowing, open shall be the path to Amenti. Fast fled we then on the wings of the morning, fled to the land of the children of Chem. There by my power I conquered and ruled them. Raised I to light the children of Chem. Deep neath the rocks buried my spaceship, waiting the day when man might be free. Over the spaceship erected a marker in the form of a lion, yet like unto man. Oh my gosh, he's saying that, what's that thing called? It's that lion one, in Egypt. The one that's like chilling, I don't know what it's called. But you have the pyramids and you have like that lion thing. That's what he's saying. That under that, if we were to excavate under there, we would find his spaceship. That's crazy. Man, I can't believe I don't know what that thing is. The only words that's coming to mind is sarcophagus, and I'm like, no, that's not it. A sarcophagus is like a coffin. But I can't remember what that thing's called. But that's what he's saying. That's wild. Okay. There neath the image rests yet my spaceship, forth to be brought when need shall arise. Know ye, O man, that far in the future invaders shall come out of the deep. Then awake, ye who have wisdom. Bring forth my ship and conquer with ease. Deep neath the image lies my secret. Search and find the pyramid I built. Each to the other is the keystone, each the gateway that leads into life. Follow the key I leave behind me. Seek the doorway to life shall be thine. Seek, and the doorway to life shall be thine. Seek thou in my pyramid, deep in the passage that ends in a wall. Use thou the key of the 7, and open to thee the pathway will fall. Now unto thee I have given my wisdom. Now unto thee I have given my way. Follow the pathway, solve thou my secrets. Unto thee I have shown the way. And that's how it ends. Isn't that wild? So what I'm getting from this is he was like, here's a story of when I used to think, I think a lot about Atlantis, so let me tell you how this whole thing started. And now, here's how to find me, basically. So you can use my spaceship, you can use my words, like my teachings, like this is all for you, because this is what the Dweller, Horlot, the Master told me to do, so now I'm going to do it for you guys. So that's how that ends. Next week, we're going to do tablet number 6, which is called, man, it closed. So now you get to hearing all this stuff all over here. But just as a reminder, okay, here we go. Number 6 is called the Key of Magic. So that'll be really cool. But just as a reminder, I am going to do a extra episode this week. I might do it even today, maybe tomorrow, looking at the first 3 songs of Taylor Swift's new album. I'm going to do it the same way that I did this one, so thank you so much for staying here to the end. So looking at it verse by verse, understanding what she's meaning, how she's characterizing love. I would say that Taylor Swift is a scholar who is questioning what love means and looking at it in all different perspectives to get a full view of it. And that's why I think that this is so freedom heavy, or lack thereof, because she's starting to view love for what it is. It's a bond, which can be freeing and can also be constricting. So yeah, stay tuned for that here on Grounded Spirits. Again, a reminder, if you want to check out my new podcast, it's called Ela Radio. It's where polymathy comes alive. Polymathy, of course, means expertise across disciplines. So we're looking at 3 different subjects each month and figuring out ways to seamlessly put these subjects in our lives so that we can learn more about them. You can follow me at Ela Institute, ILAINSTITUTE on Instagram, to learn more about that. Or for this one, please follow me on Grounded Spirits. If you have any questions or comments, please DM me there at Grounded Spirits on Instagram, or groundedspirits@gmail.com. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here with me, and I'll see you next week. Bye.